Please listen carefully.
Well, hello, universe. Welcome to the Optimist Daily Update. I'm Summers Kristy.
And I'm Kristy Jansen, and we're part of the team behind the Optimist Daily, making solutions the news. We bring you reader-funded solutions news every day in order to change the tenor of news media, social media, and the direction of your day to one focused on solutions.
7 days a week, we publish positive news stories written by award-winning journalists and delivered online to your inbox and through our social channels. And as you can tell, because you are listening, we are also sharing these solutions in a commute-worthy, walk-worthy, home office-worthy. Kristy went to an actual office.
Yes, I did.
Podcast. Today is Wednesday, the 13th of January, 2021.
Yeah,
How
I did.
was the office this morning? Tell us a little about your adventure.
It did feel kind of like an adventure, a little bit illicit. I went super early because I had to do some letters for donation receipt letters to get out from the World Business Academy, which is the nonprofit that I lead. And yeah, I had to go use a great printer, and there's the whole supply cabinet that I kind of raided. I got, new notepads and envelopes and things like that. And it felt so nice to be in a real office.
I love Amelia's description of you, which was fantastic. Amelia was describing Kristy as like running around putting Post-its everywhere and like photocopying her hand.
That's right. It made me miss the before times a little bit and miss the collaborative in-person kinds of random conversations you have in the kitchen over coffee making and lunch making and things like that. I might want to bring into my week, because nobody was there. I was there early. We're recording this at 9, so I was there between 7 and 8:30. It's kind of nice, and I kind of might want to do that like once a week, just to go down there, check into the office and get that office vibe. And I was super productive because I didn't have a dishwasher to worry about unloading or something like that,
Well, as I'm sort of making my plans for how I'm going to return to work when we get home, I am looking into like how to put a hotspot in our garage so that I actually will remove myself from dishwashers and as well as, playing babies and childcare and things like that. But I might just make myself like a little table/workbench in our garage so I can not be distracted by the dishwasher or the load of laundry that I'm going to advance or,
It's been a mixed bag having a home office. I really love not having a commute every day. And I enjoy the opportunity to get up and take a hike with my dog in the middle of the day and come back and shower if I need to, right? And then get back to work. And then I work later. But having the lack of those boundaries, having the lack of the collaborative colleagues, I think once we can go back to regular in-person, being together, I think we'll see how it goes where there's a balance. There's going to be some sort of a balance that comes up, I think, where there's, I don't know, maybe I'll work from home 3 days a week and spend 2 days a week in the office or something like that.
Yeah. I think, obviously my family is moving, and so my return to the physical office will be based on trips and any sort of required physical presence. But I think, like you, I really enjoy the collaborative experience. And when I first moved to the area where I live now, I was working exclusively from home. I had left my job at UCLA and was consulting from home, and I really felt desperate for that collaborative feel. And I ended up joining a co-work space. And then really that developed a lot of opportunities for my career in Santa Barbara, was being a participant in the co-work space. So I think it'll be interesting to see what co-work spaces look like after this, because I think a lot of businesses are recognizing that traditional model of a heavy overhead for rent for offices is no longer an imperative, right? And those resources could be deployed in other more productive ways, whether it's supporting staff or increasing team members. But I think you're absolutely right that there is a balance that will come, because people do still want to get together to think and create and collaborate.
There's also something about moving your location. what I've started doing at home is I got a screen, this shoji screen that has cherry blossoms painted on it. And I fold it up every night and I put it away, and then I bring it out in the morning to kind of make myself a little separation, because my home office is actually in my bedroom. So I have like a place that kind of feels like a different room. So that's been useful, but I do long for being with other people.
You miss humans.
I do. I'm a social person, and I do.
Well, speaking of jobs that suck.
Good transition, Summers.
Exactly.
Good transition.
Good transition sticker for me today. But this headline on today's Optimist Daily really got me excited, because it is once again a solution to a problem in a supply chain. And the headline reads, AI-powered robot that rapidly supports through recyclables is going global. Now, we've talked at length on the Optimist Daily update about some of the challenges with recycling. The simple fact is that the base of recycling comes from separating things from each other and putting like things together so that they can be recombined or reused in some way. One of the biggest challenges with recycling in the United States is that people just don't want to do the job.
Well, it's a pretty awful job. And like, I know people in my social circle who are immigrants, and their first job was sorting recyclables and sorting trash. And like in places like India, the trash pickers, it can be a productive, and you can survive on that, but it's one of those jobs that nobody who has any other options really wants to do.
Exactly. Yeah. And the recycling centers themselves have a very, very high turnover rate, with many people literally quitting their jobs hours after starting.
Yeah, it's a hard job. It's a really hard job.
Exactly. So the company, a Colorado-based company, startup called AMP Robotics, has created a AI-powered recycling robot. It's basically a large hollow box that hangs on a steel frame over a conveyor belt, and a camera will feed a stream of the recyclables passing below the bot into an AI software, which is trained to say, this is this, this is that, and with up to 99% accuracy. You know, the robot doesn't burn out like humans, but the robot also keeps a list of every item it recognizes and shares that list at the end of the day, allowing recycling centers in aggregate across the world to compile data about the types of materials they're receiving. So not only do we have effective recycling because it's better sorting, but you have an increased amount of data around what is being brought to these recycling centers, and the complex network of these machines talking to each other can overall improve the efficacy of this industry. And, you know, one of the things that I have often felt cautious of is the idea that much of our recycling was offshored for a very long time, and we didn't even know this, right? You are doing your best efforts to put your green stuff in the green bin and blue stuff in the blue bin, and, you know, and then only to learn that, in fact, many of those things actually were never effectively processed. And so this makes me very excited, because it just puts some truism and honesty into the whole chain. Now, simultaneously, the AI robots that now power the world are somewhat terrifying.
It's a mixed bag there. But I think, and the other thing that I'm wondering is, it's probably less expensive because of labor costs, but those are jobs that people, you know, it's a way that people can earn some money for very low skilled labor, very hard job. But what happens to those really awful jobs that people have turned to when the other, you know, it opens up a big conversation, and it might be cheaper, but it's still dealing with our trash. And I think we do have to take into consideration, how do we handle our trash so that, you know, we can't just say, oh, we don't care about that. That's externalized cost. And I think what this is recognizing is we used to offshore that and just ship it to another country where they had lower regulations, but then it ends up coming back. We're all interconnected, right?
Exactly.
So
yeah. Well, this particular organization, it has now deployed hundreds of these robots across 3 continents and 20 states. And the number is going to just continue to grow, because they just secured another $55 million in funding. Good. So I'm excited about this technical solution. And
the dawn of robot age.
Exactly, the dawn of trash robots. And, okay, so one more thing on trash, and probably the reason this got me super excited is because we have now started watching Trash Truck. And it's a whole animated series about a little boy whose best friend is the trash truck. And if you want to elevate the notion of the value of trash collection, do it in an early age, because there's a whole generation of little kids who love trash trucks.
I think that's good. It reminds me a little bit of that movie WALL-E.
Yes. Yep.
Where there's a trash robot left back on Earth when all the humans were circling and getting fat because they couldn't move on their own.
Well, it's not quite as dark as WALL-E. But speaking of technical industry-based solutions, Kristy, what do you have today?
So the headline that I'm spotlighting today is our lead story. And the headline reads, "This zero-emission hydrogen ferry will help clean up the maritime industry." And this is a very important thing to consider, because the maritime industry, which is shipping, a lot of our goods go across oceans on massive ships. One of the dirtiest fuels is the diesel that runs those ships. And they're not regulated in the same way that we regulate our cities, because there's not big population centers. But all of that carbon goes into the atmosphere, no matter if it does it in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean or over the city of Detroit, right? And that maritime transportation is responsible for about 2.5% of global greenhouse emissions. It emits around 940 million tons of CO2 annually, not to mention the other NOx and other gases that end up in the atmosphere. And there is a push and a recognition across the board that moving the maritime transport industry and just shipping and moving over water to zero carbon fuels is super important. And in that case, hydrogen is emerging as a very promising fuel to transition away from the carbon-based fossil fuels that currently run the ships as they go around the earth. And there is some movement in the actual shipping and logistics industry, but where we're seeing more interest is actually in ferries and the people movers of the world. And this story highlights a ship which is being produced in Europe, and it's a collaboration from several different countries. But the ship is called Europa Seaways, and it's a hydrogen-powered ferry capable of transporting 1,800 passengers between the Scandinavian capitals of Copenhagen and Oslo. So it's a collective project with Denmark and Norway and other Scandinavian countries. And this will be the first large ferry ship that will be built. It's expected to start operating for not till 2027, but the plans are already underway. They're getting funding from the EU's Innovation Fund, which is a $10 billion fund to move towards the future of transportation and other systems to move away from sort of to a net zero economy. And this is it's a collaboration. And I think this is certainly a very powerful solution. This ship, once it is in operation, will prevent over 64,000 tons of CO2 emissions from going into the atmosphere every year. That's the equivalent of removing 13,000 internal combustion passenger cars. It's run on zero emission hydrogen fuel cells that will be produced by a company in Denmark that powers its hydrogen or gets its hydrogen through wind energy. So it's green hydrogen rather than relying on industrial processes, which are not so green. And it'll be powered by a 23 megawatt fuel cell, which is a massive, massive one. Anyway, I like this solution because it underscores what we have to do in shipping, which is an international kind of place, the waterways. And there have been other ferries that are being built using fuel cells. Water Go Round, which is from GGZEM, which is a company in California. It's based in the sort of the Bay Area, I believe. And they've been working on creating fuel cell ferries, but it's on a much smaller scale. Yeah. Right now, there is one in operation, but it's a demonstration size. But it is demonstrating the possibility of powering a vessel, a commercial vessel, under hydrogen fuel cells.
I think to your point, Kristy, it's just really exciting to see multiple entities really working on this solution. And that's part of the value of a competitive, and I sound like a capitalist here, but this capitalistic endeavor of who's going to do this best and first and have a most ubiquitous. And there's certainly room for more than one. And it's pretty exciting. We joked that California needed a PR team, but I think hydrogen really needs a PR team. And I think what we are excited to do with the Optimist Daily is sort of uncover more of the real logic behind hydrogen power and the value of it. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Yay. And I mean, when you think about moving, yes, fossil fuels, the carbon economy is a massive economy that right now a lot of interests are vested in. But as we move away from that into new modes of transportation and power, like hydrogen, like electric kinds of motors, sourcing our electricity different ways, the opportunities are tremendous. Yeah. And I really think that the hydrogen economy we're just finally starting to see it come into its own. The world has been talking about this for the last couple decades, but it's really finally starting to emerge as a powerful new industry. All
right. We have gone on and on and on today because we are enjoying this conversation, but it is Wednesday and we have meetings to get to. So really quickly, a few of the other headlines on the Optimist Daily update are: Carbon could be Canada's first carbon negative brewery.
That's Carbon with a K. K-A-R-B-O-N. That's a new company. Yeah.
5 ways to cultivate peace through your workday. Lots of houseplants, obviously, I think are important. Magnetic induction stoves solve the pitfalls of traditional electric stovetops. I am very interested in that. And we had a great conversation about gas, natural gas and natural gas being phased out. So there is a horse who takes a daily stroll alone through Frankfurt. Her name is Jenny. She's pretty cute.
Tips on how to become more self-aware as we're rethinking how we engage with the world around us. That's a insightful solution-based story. There's a nonprofit raising awareness about ocean plastic by turning it into really interesting art. And of course, we have a story about how to care for houseplants during the cool winter months. There's a technology using ultrasound and nano droplets to clear blood clots. And that's an advance because it's a non-invasive solution for a real problem. And that is it for today's Optimist Daily. Thank you so much for listening to the Optimist Daily Update. We promise to keep sharing these kinds of solutions and helping you engage with the world in a positive way to ensure it is changed for the good. We promise to keep covering current events with accuracy, legitimate sources, and offering you the information needed most to chart new paths for all of us.
And please, as always, consider becoming an emissary on the optimistdaily.com for just $5, $15, or $50 a month. Help us keep reader-funded journalism thriving. Help us keep the Optimist Daily free to all who need it, supported by those who can. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.